What's good? Another episode of the Bridge Podcast. We are back. It's just me this week. Eddie got some stuff to do, but you know we gonna make it do what it do anyway. Shout out to No Face Half Breed on the beat. No Face Half Breed. You know what it is, the 101, the 5, the 405, the 5, the 126, the 226, the 10, a whole bunch of other ones we can sit here and do all day, man. We got a million. This is California, man. We all over the place. But we definitely back. Hopefully y'all enjoy another episode. We just keep doing what we do. Hopefully y'all having a great day, getting ready for another beautiful weekend. But you know we always got something to talk about. And we're going to talk about it. Because that's just what we do. Welcome back. Another episode of the Bridge Podcast. You know it's your boy, Elliot Davis, a.k.a. Elliot Davis Speaks, a.k.a. Coach Davis, a.k.a. I'll help you if you need it. But we back. Another episode, man. And we not going to waste no time this week, man. We going to get right to the work because that's what we need to do, man. We need to get to the work, man. And so the reality is we've kind of been dabbling in this subject since I've been doing podcast episodes, man. And you know, it's always come up. We kind of touch it, but we don't ever deep dive into it, man. And it has pertaining to do with sports, and ultimately we're talking about parents. And I think parents, I'm gonna say it, they're responsible for where sports is at right now. Like I think when I first started coaching, and my dad told me, man, you know, I think you're gonna love coaching. You're going to do a phenomenal job. You love helping children. You know, like you're going to do great with that. He was like, but you're going to hate parents. And I thought, in my mind, you know, I know how to deal with it. And it's not that I didn't know how to deal with it ultimately, but it's like when you run into certain situations, it's just kind of like, wow, it just kind of takes you back for a second because it's like you don't really understand the thinking of some of these parents and where their mindset's at. And it's frustrating because you have a million parents who will sit there and tell you, oh, you know, when we was kids and we was coming up, and it's like, yeah, but you're not even allowing that to happen, you know? And I think a lot of times with parents, you know, we get so frustrated in what's going on, not understanding the responsibilities that our own child has into the situation, you know, and parents, like, they just love to jump out the window. You know, it's a frustrating thing. I don't think if you talk to any coach at any level, whether it be youth sports, whether it's up to even college, I guess college is being a little more prevalent now just because NIL, parents feel like they got a little more to say, they can get away with it, where coaches just used to like not deal with you. Or junior college coaches, they just not deal with your parents. I think a lot of the older coaches still do that, but you know, you have a lot of parents now who have a son or a daughter who's great, doing great things, and they have access to opportunities to make money, and now they feel like they got a voice. Not understanding like the thing about parents, we forget the one major thing, right? Like it's about the kid. And so, you know, a lot of times parents, you know, they have this knack of just getting in the damn way, right? Like they can't get out the way. Like I've known a lot of kids who I've actually enjoyed them, like personally. But it's like you end up looking at a kid funny, not because they're doing something wrong, it's because the interactions you keep having to have with your parents. Or it's like the conversations that you got to have with the coaches, like, oh, you know, we just really don't want to deal with this. You know, and it takes away from, you know, the joy you have from coaching the kids sometimes because you get caught up in the mess sometimes, unfortunately. And it's not that we want to. We're professionals. We do the job. And you don't take things out on a kid because of a parent. But it's just like you just look at them and it's like sometimes you feel like all you can see is the parent. Right? And, you know, I think parents are the real issue. Like I know a lot of people who coach youth sports, they talk about the parents. Right? And then there's other parents talking about the parents. Right? And a lot of times parents talk about each other. And everybody's sitting there mad because their kid ain't doing well, or they coach is screwing them, or some BS, or some nonsense that some parents gonna talk about that really ain't true anyway. And I tell people all the time, like it's real simple. And I want parents to really understand this, right? Like it's very simple. If your son, your daughter, if your child is not getting the opportunities you think they want or think they should get, maybe it's because it's not they're getting cheated. Maybe they're just not good enough. at the moment. Maybe they're just not prepared right now. But I think, a lot of times parents, y'all get out here, y'all trying to finagle ways, y'all trying to do stuff. You got parents that want to be involved with the program, not because they really want to help the program, because they think they're helping their child, and they just getting in the way, all the while making it harder for your child. And the reality is, a lot of times with you parents, the kids don't even want it as bad as you want it for them. You really just wasting your time. Right? And then you come in there frustrated. Oh, my son not doing this. My son not doing that. My daughter not doing this. My daughter. It's like, yes, they're not doing it. It's not the coach. It's the child that's not doing it. Now, I always say, as a coach, we always have a responsibility to prepare you to make sure you're ready for the opportunity. So we do play a role in that. We do have to teach you things. We do have to teach you the system, the scheme, how we do things to set you up for success. But if you've been taught and you still can't perform, we have to look at other things. Right? Maybe the kid just don't got it. It does not mean the child just sucks or anything like that. It's not about a disrespecting to a child, but it's like understanding what my child is or is not capable of. And a lot of us don't want to face the reality of that. It says nothing about the child as far as them as a person, right? Not being good at basketball doesn't mean you're a bad person. And conversely, not being great at basketball don't make you a good person, right? The two aren't connected. It's just, hey, you might have a great person and they're just not very good at the sport. But you also see a lot of crappy people who are good at sports. So it's not about the talent level. It's about the character of the person and understanding who the person is. And so a lot of times I think parents don't understand their child. They don't understand what their child is capable of. Hell, most of us don't even understand what our children want. Because you don't force these kids into things. And it's like you sitting in the bleachers with an ego. Like it says something about you because your child not very good. And it don't. But then it's not even that the fact that your child's not very good. It's you got the nerve, the audacity to start fussing. And those are typically when the problems come in with the coaches because you're looking at a game. Right? Most parents are looking at the game. Most coaches do not want you at practice. Most practices are closed anyway, which they should be because parents don't got no mess. They just go meddle in what's going on. Right? But you watching this game and you watching your child sit there, not play or whatever, or play very little, and you see the other kids in front of your child. And you go, well, so-and-so, he just turned the ball over. Or she went up on the court 3 times. She didn't do nothing. My child can't get in. And it's like, I have to be honest with a lot of people. It's like, you have to understand, if a coach is willing to deal with the mistakes of the kid that's playing and they won't go to your child, trust me, there's a lack of trust there with your child and their ability to do what needs to be done. Because maybe if it's your child, it turns into 8 turnovers, not 3. Or maybe it turns into an interception and not an incomplete pass. But the problem is that it's the practices where things are proven. But we've kind of gotten to this space now where it's not about, I'll prove myself and then I'll do what I need to do. I mean, I'll do what I need to do after you let me play. I'll prove to you. And it's like, no, the mindset should be, I'll prove myself so I can play. But no, we have everybody walking into it now saying, play me and then I'll show you what I can do. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. And the higher you go with this, the harder it gets. And I think a lot of times, like parents, like we fool ourselves, especially like in the area I live. I live in the Central Coast. There have been moments in the Central Coast where we have a lot of great players. We have a lot of high-level athletes, boys and girls, Division I athletes, and a lot of sports, right? Like not just 1 or 2, but a lot of sports. We have a lot of great athletes, right? But then there's times where the area is down, and so ultimately, living in California is so big. There's so much talent. Like even just being the best in your area doesn't mean like you're great like that. You just could be the best in the area, right? And so we assess it not off of just what you're doing, but what the level of competition that you ultimately play, right? It's so we always tell kids that where I coach at, it does you no good to be the best around here. That's not saying much right now because there's just not a lot. It's when we go south, when we go north, when we go out of state, play the best, do you show up? That's where the real respect comes. Is when you're in front of those other dogs, are you going to be a dog too or are you not? And so, we put a lot of time in that and people just get delusional, right? Or people get caught up, or you have parents that had a kid who was great in youth sports, and then high school is not that way. And it's not, maybe they just didn't do the work. But it's like we get to the point where parents, we just make so many damn excuses now, right? Like everything's an excuse. There's never no realness with what we're doing for a lot of people, right? Everybody's looking to point the finger. It's like we sit here all the time and we preach accountability, right? And you hear all these parents, I'll hold my child accountable and they need to be responsible for their actions. But then when it's time to talk about the sport, is, well, I don't think the coach really cared for them like that, or what the case may have you. And it's like, honestly, coaches typically, they have egos too. And I think that's something that people forget. Coaches have big egos. Coaches want to win just as bad as anybody else. So don't think for 1 second, if your child is able or prepared to help a coach win, they're not going to play your child. Like, that makes no sense. And at that point, if that is the case, that coach just doesn't need to be in that position. And so, people, parents make these comments, the coach don't like my child. The coach will cut your child if they don't like your child. And so I've been in multiple places, whether it's been high school as a head coach, whether it's been travel ball, where, we've had to let kids go because they're not good fits. It wasn't because they lacked talent. It's just their personality, their energy wasn't right for what was going on, and they didn't want to make adjustments, so we can't keep that. It's not fair to make a group suffer because one person doesn't want to get right. Now, do we take chances on kids? Absolutely, and we should, right? We try to show kids sometimes that, hey, we're trying to give you a chance here because there's a lot of opportunities for kids and a lot of things that are needed for kids who are struggling just outside of the sport. Sometimes it's a situation where the kid needs a sport more than the sport needs the kid. And so you give kids an opportunity to grow, but it's at the same time, I can't let it be detrimental to what's going on long term. Like, if you just show a lack of willingness to make things happen or do better, I can't have you there. And it's not because I don't want to, it's because you're not showing the ability to do what we need to do. And trust me, it's never easy to let a kid go. I think if any coach has been in that situation, you'll understand that, right? It's never easy to do it, but sometimes it's necessary. It's just no different than cutting kids, right? And sometimes things are just so close. But the reality is, I really think that, as we're looking at the sports and everything that's going on with sports right now, you have so many parents that are just fussing, right? Or how many times now do you watch on sports where you see a parent getting into it with a referee, right? And then we fuss now. And see, the problem is, and trust me, I can I can talk a long time about how critical I want to be of referees at times. I really can. But when you look at the landscape of things, you start asking yourself, why don't we have younger people coming into that industry? Why aren't people choosing to ref anymore? Well, it's like when you just turn on your TV, get on your phone, go on YouTube. Look at how some parent came out the bleachers and fought a ref. And so I don't condone referees saying things, because I don't think referees should be engaging people in the crowd. But definitely, some guys are getting defensive. Some women are getting defensive because they're trying to protect themselves. They're being disrespected. It just doesn't feel good. And so from somebody who had anger issues, hey, I'm not going to be mad or somebody who's not willing to understand somebody kind of just getting to the point of frustration with a parent because they can't keep their mouth shut. But it's parents now, they want to be involved, right? We talk about our kids and how they're wrapped up in social media, and a lot of kids are stuck on it because everybody's looking for that viral moment, right? Everybody's looking for that thing. Where I think a lot of parents, y'all are looking for that thing too. A lot of y'all parents, maybe you didn't have your opportunities, maybe things didn't go the way you want to go, and now you're trying to live through your child, and so you're pushing and doing too much because you want something for your child, and they may not even want that for themselves. And also understanding it's over for us. Right? I have a son, he's 10 years old. I have a son who's 18 or 19, maybe 19 years old. All of them had their own journeys and had nothing to do with me outside of me helping them, support them, and trying to give them the best resources to be as good as they could be at whatever they chose to do. But when I sit there and watch them, I just shut up. I might say something, oh man, you gotta do that, but I'm not gonna be loud. He's not gonna know why I said it, because he needs to focus on what's happening on the court or on the field, and he needs to be paying attention to the person who's actually coaching him on the sideline. But a lot of kids don't get that opportunity. And you have a lot of parents who are out here embarrassing the hell out their kids because they yelling and screaming up and down the field, yelling and screaming up and down the sideline. Or even the ones who played and think they know exactly what's supposed to happen all the time and don't. And you putting your child in an awkward position. And like, people don't understand, parents, y'all don't get it. Like, coaches talk about this stuff. You know, kids is like, yo, what's up with the parent? Or you see kids getting recruited in college, and then you start seeing them later down the road, and they're talking to you about kids and other things that they're dealing with. And it's like, man, you know, so-and-so is a great kid, but their parents, man, you know, it's much. And then they're like, I don't want to deal with that. And so, you know, when you don't understand that as a parent, like, how many opportunities could you be potentially taking away from your child? How many things could your kid be missing out on because you're in the way? How much growth could your kid achieve if you just sat there and be quiet, right? Like, I think Dwayne Wade just recently spoke about that. It's like, man, my parents wasn't at everything. So it gave me a chance to mature, gave me a chance to grow up, gave me a chance to figure things out on my own. And, you know, I think it'd be different, I guess, for me if, you know, we were in a space where kids were just out there coaching themselves. But it's like, if the kid is being coached, let them be coached. Like, there's no way a kid can double dip. It's hard for a kid to listen to the coach, and then you got to try to listen to the parent. And I tell kids, you got to choose. And I've had this happen as a head coach. Like, you can't listen to your dad and listen to me. Because if you're going to listen to him, then you might as well just go play for him. Well, he's not a coach. Well, then I guess, hey, you better figure it out quick. Because I'm not going to deal with that. Guess you just won't have nowhere to play. Because if you can't focus and you're distracted, it's compromising what we're trying to do. It's compromising the help I can give you. Now, if you don't feel like this is the best place, or your dad don't feel like this is the right place, you reserve the right to leave. Doesn't mean I want you to, but it just doesn't mean I'm going to compromise what I need to do for the group or what's best for the group because one person don't want to get on board. And so, you know, I think as coaches, we always understand, man, the dinner table talk is some of the most damaging talks that happen and for youth athletes, right? Because you have parents who get home, have no idea what's happening, don't know what's going on, don't know how they're being coached, don't know what they're being told to do necessarily. And then they're trying to coach their kid up on what they need to do without even knowing. There's like your dad telling them, you need to run this route. You don't even know what the play called for. You don't know what the scheme is. You don't know what the coach is trying to set up by having him do things the way he's doing them. But yet you're encouraging him to do something that doesn't make sense. And then when he does what you asked and he gets pulled, now you're mad because the child got pulled. Like, nah, it's your fault. And so, you know, it's like parents, we call ourselves saying we're tougher, we're this, we're that, you know, these kids ain't strong as us, they ain't mentally tough as us. We're not even giving them the opportunity a lot of times as parents because we too busy being in the damn way. We too busy sitting in the mix. And so, you know, oh, yeah, I want my child to grow up and be a good young man. I want my child to grow up and be a good young woman and all these things. And part of being an adult is being able to advocate for yourself. But we're not even giving kids the chance to do that. Parents are just too busy getting in the way. Like, I don't even know at this point how, like, it's hard for me to see parents enjoying games. Like, I go to a lot of youth games for my son. I spend a lot of time at some youth football games, you know, and it's not about necessarily my area, just in general, like wherever I go. It's like, do people actually enjoy this? Because I feel like they don't. It's like for youth sports, it should be enough that your kid is getting better in elementary school and middle school. Like they're consistently improving. That's what you should be happy about. Is it a guarantee that they're gonna have great coaching in youth? No, it's youth sports. Let's be real. We don't always get the best coaches in youth, not because, you know, they're not out there. It's just that, you know, some of them are coaching together. Some of them just don't have the time. And, you know, people are juggling stuff. And at the end of the day, I can't be mad at it because they're doing it for free. So it's like somebody's giving a time up. I'm not going to go in on them. And if I do go in on them, or as a parent, you do want to go in on them, like, why not just go coach? Like, get you a team and let people be critical of you for a while and see how that goes. Because a lot of y'all do stuff, and parents, you got to understand something. Like, we're not fools as coaches. And a lot of parents ain't fools either. It's like hindsight 2020, right? Some of y'all coming in here with some information that's like, yeah, we can see that that's the right thing to do after it didn't work. But that's also why we're sitting on the sideline, because we're going to make the adjustment. But there's a lot of y'all just up there looking to be critical. You want to tear something down. You want to tear somebody down because it ain't going the way you want it to go for your child. And so it's just hard, in this era of sports to really enjoy sports, just because parents make it so negative. Like, there is no joy. And like I said, though, I do want to shout out the ones that are great, because I know a lot of great ones. I interact with a lot of coaches. I interact with a lot of parents. And you do have parents who get it. So it's not that we don't have it. But it's just like, it seems the ones that don't get it typically be the ones that be the loudest. And maybe that's because they just don't get it. Maybe it's because they just don't know what's going on, and I try to be mindful of that. But it is hard as a coach when you're getting caught up in the mix of that stuff. And I'm not a person who has bad, relationships with parents, man. I deal with mental health. I'm a guidance counselor where I coach at now. So I have a good relationship, but I've had situations where parents just seem to not really understand. Now, I'm not necessarily having to deal with most of it because I'm not the head coach in my current situation. But in my last situation, I was. Like I got phone calls at 11:30 at night about stuff, on my anniversary or different things that have happened that I've got calls about that I did not care for at all. And, and I had to learn to set boundaries and things too. I was early in my journey at that time, so I just didn't know how everything could be handled or how it should be handled. But, it's like I had a parent fuss at me that his kid needed more minutes, deserved more minutes. These kids are playing more and doing these things, and my child, needs more minutes, and, he's working hard. And then I talked to the kid. The first thing out the kid's mouth is, well, I haven't really been trying that hard, coach. And I said, well, I understand that, because that's why you ain't been playing them, because it doesn't seem like you're going hard. But then if that's the case, why your father calling me? Because clearly he don't know what's going on, or he just don't care, or he just don't like me, which while it's all good, like, I'm not tripping, but just trying to make sense of this stupid stuff that's happening. I had a parent come up to me, there's no superstars out here, coach. I say, you know what, you're right, but it's clearly kids that are better than others. So I'm not treating kids based off of, oh, he's the superstar. No, I'm saying he has more talent. He actually understands how to use his talent better. And I need to give him opportunities to do that because these other kids aren't ready. Now, in the background, are we developing those other kids? Of course we are. Are we encouraging them kids to do things? Of course, because everybody should play with confidence and everybody should feel like they can hoop. Like, I'm a player's coach. I want you to go hoop. I want to sit here and call plays all day. I want you to go play. But what parents don't understand, oh, your child has the freedom that the other kids have. They're just not taking advantage of it. That's something we have to work on with the kid. So it's not because of lack of opportunity. It's a lack of willingness to take advantage of it, whether they're scared or whatever. But parents, we seem to spend more time trying to remove roadblocks out of the way of our kids instead of actually showing them how to maneuver over the roadblock. Asking them what they want to do, asking how they want to go about it, asking what do they think they could do better. Because those questions typically aren't asked by a lot of parents now. We just get driven by the toxic stuff, right? The toxicity of things right now, right? Like, if it looks negative, especially, God forbid, a team is not winning games, right? And that's some of the craziest stuff to me, because I've coached with guys who coached for years, and then you know what, it just stops working. And it's not necessarily because they can't coach anymore. They just can't connect more so, right? They just kind of lost touch with the generation they're currently in. And there's so many years in the game, if you don't keep up, hey, you gotta make a change or move on. But it's like, you have people talking about these people like they just don't know how to do the job at all. It's like, no, they didn't forget how to do the job. They're just having a hard time connecting with these young people. And is that still a problem? Yes. But it doesn't warrant disrespect. Doesn't warrant slander, right? Like, everybody has expectations. And so, when you're the coach, it's always going to fall on your back. And I think most coaches who are head coaches understand that it's going to fall on your back. When you lose and they're looking at you first, especially like when you get to the college level, the pro levels, like if I'm paying a guy $200 million, I'm paying you $5 million, I'm a lot likely going to get rid of you before I get rid of that $200 million player. I just need to find somebody that can get everything out of my investment in that player, and I'll do that. They'll try to at least. And so it's not that there's not blame to go around, right? Like it's not that parents shouldn't be held accountable. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not that coaches shouldn't be held accountable, because they should. Coaches make mistakes too. And I think the good ones are behind closed doors, making those changes, making adjustments to help the kids be successful. But it's like you see coaches who have teams that just aren't very good and have parents complaining. It's like, no, they're not very good. And so it's not, like, let's be clear. Saying they're not very good is not a disrespectful thing. Like, it's some guys just don't have it. Some girls just don't have it. And we have to at least recognize that. And it's like, if somebody's getting something out of that kid who maybe doesn't have nothing and making something happen, hey, God bless him. And I know what it's like to lose. My last season in my old high school, Lompoc, I was 6-20. And to be honest, I didn't focus on what didn't happen. I didn't focus on the injuries and different things that kind of plagued that season. I focused on the fact that I was trying to get some young men who weren't ready a little faster. And I just wasn't successful in that. And I understand that. Did they play a role in it? No. Yeah, they did. But like I said, I'm the one in charge. But it's like the level of disrespect that comes with that is not okay. Right? And so it's like, if you got somebody that won 3-4 years in a row and they have one bad year, like, does not treat these people like they don't know what they're doing. But that's typically what tends to happen. And I get it. Everybody wants to play for a winner. We all do. We all want to be a part of a winner. We all want to play and do our thing. But it's like, it doesn't take the energy that is being given that we get to coaches that like really do the job. Now, you slandering somebody isn't helping fixing anything. But it's like, I've seen so many coaches now leave because they're just tired of parents. And there is no responsibility taken for a lot of these parents. Like, everybody wants to be there hovering over, in the way. God forbid it be, like I said, and them parents that's former athletes, you know who you are. The parents that used to play the sport, that you want to be in the way and dictate everything, and you ain't doing nothing but messing stuff up for your child. I'm not saying don't coach your kid. I'm just saying there's a time and a place. But when things are happening in real time, like, they need to be focused on what's happening in real time. They cannot be focused on what you gonna say, what you not gonna say, or how it's gonna go. That shouldn't even be something they're worried about. Like, you can't tell me as a parent you want your child to be successful if you're consistently in the way of the person who's trying to help your kid in their sport. Now, as a parent, I always say I'm responsible for my kid being respectful. I'm responsible for teaching my kid to understand energy and effort, like playing hard all the time. Like, that's something that needs to be instilled in him from home. Because if I can get my child to play hard, it's easy to be coached.